Well, I'm joined now by Noel Nikpour, who is a former GOP congressional candidate and now a Republican strategist, as well as Capri, the former Democrat state senator for Ohio, and who is now a political commentator. Thanks very much, both, for joining us. And it's interesting, isn't it, Noel? I mean, will he relish, do you think, having a Democrat House to fight with and to blame?
You know what? It's going to be an easier blame game than it is having a Republican House and Republican Senate. When you have a Democratic House, when things don't get through or when there's slowness or things that go on, then it's a very easy blame game, which sets up better for Donald Trump when he's running in 2020.
Right, so it's politically better for him. But you got Nancy Pelosi saying, come on, let's do some business, let's do deals, let's be bipartisan. So, you know, Donald Trump can't have it both ways.
If they're smart, what they will do is they will focus on infrastructure. They will focus on more things that help the American public. And if they're not smart, the Democrats will focus on impeachment and hearings and in a lot of nonsense that does nothing for the people that voted him into office.
Right, well, we have a Democrat here. So how smart are you, and which way will it go, do you think?
Well, I will tell you this. I mean, I can't speak for my fellow Democrats in Congress, but I agree with Noel. And I actually just wrote a piece about this that came out this morning about what the Democrats should do. And I absolutely agree. I mean, look, President Trump just laid it out for the Democrats and basically put everybody on notice and said, you know, if you mess with me, I'll mess with you. Now, we do have an oversight responsibility as the legislative branch to the executive branch, and that's fair game. However, playing games is not going to be appropriate for the Democrats. I think not only infrastructure is in a good place to start for bipartisan cooperation, but Democrats also have an opportunity to work with Republicans on making the middle-class tax cut permanent, something that Republicans and Democrats alike said they wanted to do. And look, pre-existing conditions, covering pre-existing conditions in health insurance. I know that obviously the UK system is very different than the United States, but that issue got center stage in the midterm elections. Now Republicans say they want to cover pre-existing conditions like Democrats. Why don't they work together on that too?
So, I mean, you're not going to push for impeachment, you don't think?
I would think it would be stupid for the Democrats in the House.
Because the American people will say, why aren't you getting onto the things that
That's
really
right.
matter?
And I would say conversely as well, if President Trump goes back and forth, and I know that the American people, I think, are accustomed at this point to President Trump fighting back, so to speak, as he likes to say, but the more and more that this government in Washington does not function and continues to focus on politics and not people, it not only hurts the American public, but it also is not good for politics.
Right. Noel, he's held this press conference. He called the midterms a big and incredible day, he said. Now, do you think it was that incredible? I mean, you've lost the House of Representatives, and now the Democrats can cause problems for Donald Trump.
Well, you know, President Trump will spin something to his favor. And it is a big and wonderful day, according to Trump, if you look at the Senate gains. Those are fantastic Senate gains. And we have another one that's kind of on the ropes right now that we may end up getting as well. But as far as the House, that's not really, you know, that's not a big, beautiful win. That's scary to Republicans, because if they start their focus on impeachment, this is going to do nothing more than more of the fatigue.
But what if he goes for they go for his tax returns? I mean, he's already stalling again today, saying it's under audit, it's too complicated.
Right.
I mean,
it's just another distraction. And let's face it, I think Americans in
most
general
presidents do show their tax returns.
They do. This is very strange. But also, you've got to look at the fact that he's been a wheeler and dealer in some sort of real estate things. He's dealing with things globally as well. I think that he doesn't want to get into the minutia of his tax returns because they're probably complicated.
I'm sure they're very complex, but, you know, he's no longer a real estate developer. He is president of the United States, and I think that there's been, you know, there's an expectation of transparency. I think particularly because, you know, President Trump has had dealings around the globe, and there's been questions about the emoluments clause. I'm not saying that they're valid necessarily. It is not required by law, but it has been customary for the last, you know, 50-some years. I do want to just say one really quick thing about the fact that the House being controlled by Democrats is scary to Republicans. I would say on the flip side, the Senate being controlled by Republicans is scary for Democrats because the amount of power that is held in the Senate is, I think, much more wide-reaching than in the House because they have the ability of advise and consent to confirm nominees for president that President Trump put up.
On the Supreme Court as well.
On the Supreme Court for cabinet posts, ambassadors, and a whole number of other things.
So how do you think he will use that? Are we going to see more conservative judges on the Supreme Court if the opportunity arises?
You better believe we will. And I think that the more the Democrats, if they push, and they push on the tax returns and they push on, the impeachment, if they keep pushing towards these subjects, I think you're going to see President Trump come back. I mean, he's already proven to be a little mean-spirited when you challenge him, So I think that you are going to see him fight fire with fire, and he's going to do everything to make their lives as miserable as they're going to try to make his, if they play that way.
Right, I want to ask you both. He described himself as a great moral leader of this country. Capri, what did you make of that?
President Trump likes to use words and describes things however he'd like. And I think that, he will choose whatever kind of narrative he wants at the time. And he sees the world the way he wants to see it. And sometimes facts don't necessarily match up with reality for him. But, that's just who he is and that's how he operates. So, and how morality is defined, I think, is in the eye of the beholder as well when it comes to President Trump. And frankly, even the evangelical community that, I think a lot of folks thought the religious right in this country would shy away from Trump because of, for example, him being married for 3 times. And they have basically said, we don't care because everyone has their own journey and their own faith journey. So, that's how he sees himself. Good for him.
Noel, I want to ask you, a record number of women standing for election, most of them Democrats. What did you make of the way that women not only stood but also turned out and voted?
I think a lot of it had to do with the timing of, in the United States, we had the Me Too movement, as you know, and I think that combined on the heels of the Kavanaugh trials when you had Dr. Ford. I think that was, those were 2 ingredients that fueled the fire. The president of Emily's List said that she has never seen more contributions, and Emily's List is an all-female promoting. She's never seen more contributions coming from women.
But how worrying is that then for 2020, seeing that most of them voted Democrat?
Well, it's always a sector that the Republican Party has been really trying to win ever since Donald Trump got elected, with all the the snafus that included when he was running. So minorities appeal to the minorities and appeal to more women. I think is something that we are going to have to be as a GOP to improve on. And
I mean, it was mainly Democrat women who turned out. Mainly Democrat women who stood. What did you make of that?
Well, again, that has been the tradition that more Democratic women have sought office. But we did see some Republicans, including some like leaders that are new, like a Korean American woman, a Korean American woman that's a Republican. So, I think that we're going to continue to see this trend, and I think that the more women that get elected into office, the more we're going to see compromise and solution-oriented government. So more Democrat, more Republican women is a good thing.
All right, fantastic. Thank you both for joining us this evening. Thank you very much.